Selcast Room Podcast.
Welcome to our podcast. I am Carolyn Arcoirez, ang unstoppable dreamer ng Bukal, Batangas.
And I'm Lyka Pacurib, ang Miss Confidently Beautiful with a Heart ng Mabini, Batangas. We are your hosts and you're listening to
Selcast Room. So for today's episode, we will bring you again to another kwentuhan session with our very special guest. But before we introduce our first guest, let me ask muna my co-host, syempre, Lyka. How are you today, Lyka?
I am good, Caroline. I'm just really excited right now kasi may mga panibago tayong mga topics na pag-uusapan. May mga bagong experiences and knowledge na may share sa atin ang ating mga guests. And of course, tayo ding dalawa. And isa sa mga kina-excite ko is our topic for today's episode, which is all about who we are in the social world.
Yes, Lyka, you're right. Our topic is super interesting, no? Kasi it is all about ourselves, our self-concept and our self-presentation. Diba? And since sinimulan mo na rin at natanong mo na rin kanina, ikaw ba, Lyka? Who do you think you are in the social world?
Ay, grabe. Agad-agad,
Well, ang hirap sagutin, no?
Yes. Bakit every time na tinatanong tayo about kung sino tayo, bakit parang hirap na hirap talaga? Like, kilala naman natin yung sarili natin, no? Caroline, ako lang to. Siguro kasi Caroline, iba-iba ang tao Maaring gato ko i-describe yung self ko, pero sa ibang tao, iba-iba ako sa paningin nila. May iba silang impression o yung tinatawag na nating impression management. Ito yung way kung paano natin ipepresent yung sarili natin sa iba. And para makuha nila yung exact picture o description na gusto nating makita ng mga tao sa atin.
Yes naman, impression management from Lyka. Well,
Yes, Caroline. Nag-i-improve na tayo
well, yun din kaya ang answer ng ating guest for this episode if we ask her, who are you in the social world? Well, alamin natin yan, Lyka, as we welcome our first guest. She is a DevCom student, an archer, a former Dula ang Batangan member, and aspiring broadcaster. Siya ay walang iba kundi the very pretty Miss Dimaano. Hi Catherine! Welcome to our podcast.
Hello guys! Hello Lyka and Caroline. Thank you very much for inviting me here in your podcast. Well, actually, this is my first time na mag-guest sa podcast and in any program. And I'm just very lucky na napili niyo ako to be your guest here in your podcast. And thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome, Catherine. Well, matanong lang kita, how are you now? Ang tagal na natin din nagkikita, like 30 years na, di ba? Just kidding. Pero seriously, how are you?
I'm alright. I'm doing great and very, very excited to share something to you guys and to our audience, of course.
Yes naman, we are thankful to you, Catherine, for guesting and dito sa aming podcast and for allowing us to interview you today. I am sure from everything that you've experienced from being a player, a student, I'm sure marami kong maibabahagi sa ating mga audience.
Yes, that's true. I'm looking forward for that. I heard Catherine is a former Dula ang Batangan member. Alam mo ba, Catherine, gusto kong mag-audition dyan before. Kaso wala akong self-confidence. Oh, self pa rin yun, ha? At wala akong experience. So, how was your experience there?
Yes, I've been part of Bad State Youth Dula ang Bataan. Well, honestly speaking, hindi ko talaga binalak mag-join sa group na yun. Sinasamahan ko lang yung friend ko and other classmates nung nag-audition sila. And sinabi ni friend, which is Juliana, hi, hello sa'yo Juliana kung nakikinig ka man. Sabi niya, subukan ko raw kasi wala nga naman daw mawawala. And dahil marami rin naman na nagsasabi na talented ako, so naniwala talaga ako nung moment na yun. And yun, hanggang sa nakapasa nga and nag-perform live sa stage in front of many people, pero hanggang dun lang ako sa performance na yun. Sa madaling salita, hindi rin talaga ako nagtagal as a member of the said group. Hindi ko na matandaan kung ilang months. But I really enjoyed it. Walang halong keme, promise. And after that, nag-join na lang ako sa sports. I think because that is where I really belong.
So, since napag-usapan yung pagsali niya sa Dula ang Batangan, doon naman tayo sa experience mo as a player. Siyempre, di natin palalampasin yan. It is still about yourself eh. Ito yung self-identity mo, di ba? So, kwentuhan mo naman kami kung paano ba nagsimula ang joining mo dito.
When I first saw a bow and arrow, it was when Gabriel Moreno played at the Nanjing Youth Olympics aired on TV5. I was really mesmerized and amazed on him because he won a gold medal and became a representative of our country to that event. It's not that simple. And I was in 9th grade when I heard that there was a sport called archery in my school, which was Batangas National High School. Doon ako pumasok dati nung junior high. And then, since then, sinabi ko sa sarili ko, gusto ko maging part ng archery team. Grade 10, I had this classmate named Angel, who was an official player of archery and Staka qualifier. And then, I always asked her about the natures in that sport. Then, hanggang sa nagtanong siya, gusto mo ba mag-training? Sabi niya sa akin. Sabi ko, syempre naman. And then, sa pagkakatanda ko, it was the 2nd week of June when she accompanied me and introduced me to Sir Mauhay, yung coach namin sa archery. And then, sabi niya, Sir, gusto daw po mag-training. Sabi naman ng coach namin, sige, mag-start ka na mamaya. Siyempre, ako'y tuwan-tuwa noong mga panahon na yun. And ang aking ngiti ay abot hanggang tainga, sa totoo lang. I got a silver medal in my first tournament. For almost 6 months of training, I was chosen to be part of Batangas City archery team and compete for the regional sports competition held in Santa Cruz, Laguna. And another month was allotted to us athletes to train harder. The day has come and the competition begins. I ranked 24 out of 48, though I didn't made it to the top 3, but then I still consider myself fortunate for being chosen to play for Batangas City delegation. We did not win in our games, but with the experiences we had, we consider ourselves winners. And aside from meeting new friends, I noticed a lot of improvements to myself, of course. I love this newfound family. Together, we endure the pains and bruises we got from long hours of daily training and 100 push-ups a day. As I continue my passion, I pursue it in college. Fortunately, napasama ulit ako for Strasok Olympics na ginanap naman sa Romblon. And this time, nakapag-uwi ako ng 2 bronze medals. And sobrang nakakatuwa kasi from rank 24 ko noon, nag-jump agad ako para sa bronze medals. And take note, 2 talaga siya. And yung feeling ko, kakaiba eh. Feeling blessed and proud ako sa self ko, syempre.
Yes naman, talagang ito yung hindi pa ito talaga yung pinaka-question natin kay Catherine for this podcast ha. Pero yung mga sagutan niya, grabe, parang pang-preliminary interview ng Miss Universe, ha? And speaking of questions, so yun na nga, kanina we're talking about self in the social world. So for you, Catherine, how would you describe yourself or who you are in the social world?
For me, Caroline, yung self-concept ko or what I know and believe about myself is that I'm a strong woman talaga. And I'm a fighter. Yan yung na-prove ko since ang dami ko na rin nasalihan mga competitions. But more than that, nakita ko din yung self ko as advocator. Like, yun yung isang purpose ko sa life kasi iba yung fulfillment. Ang sarap sa feeling na makatulong lalo na kung na-appreciate and willing din akong i-pursue yung advocacies ko to help a lot of people. So, I think yun ako. Yun yung role ko kasi yun yung happiness ko. Hindi lang ako basta student, athlete, artist, or aspirant. I'm a person who finally found one of my purposes in the social world. And yun yung self-concept ko. Pero since pinag-uusapan natin yung social world, it is not just only about ourselves it is more about social self or how we are in relation to others. How we socialize, how we communicate, how we build relationships, diba? And in that way, dun ko fully nakikilala yung sarili ko in the social world. And isa yun sa mga natutunan ko talaga na we should learn to see ourselves through the eyes of others. Minsan kasi kilala natin yung sarili natin, yung self natin, na for example, strong ako and confident ako, pero sa tingin ng iba, I'm weak and fearful, diba? Yung mga ganung bagay.
Yeah, but it's okay, no? We need to make adjustment na lang. Katulad nga nung tanong din sa akin ni Caroline kanina na, who am I in the social world? Ang tanging na sagot ko lang talaga ay, Caroline, ako lang to. Kasi hindi ko din sure diba, although kilala ko naman yung sarili ko. Kasi when we try to share people who we really are, sometimes yung impression ng iba sa atin, hindi nagtutugma sa totoong tayo. Or sa self natin, diba?
Yes, ako, ang opinion ko naman dyan, siguro when it comes to our self-presentation or on how we present ourselves to others in a positive way, minsan we present ourselves to our friends na, eto ako, talented, pero hindi mo showcase yung talent mo sa kanila. Sa family mo lang to pinapakita, ganyan. Eto for example, ako, I know to myself na I can speak or I can do hosting. Pero nung may mga nagtatanong sa akin na kung gusto ko ba sumali sa mga program para mag-host, ganyan-ganyan, sinasabi ko na lang na ayoko, di po ako marunong. But the truth is, I can and I am capable naman, diba? So, I think sa self-presentation dito dumedepende ang lahat, kaya nagli-lead to misinterpretation ang impressions ng iba sa atin. Siguro ganun yun.
Yes, and I think napakalaki ng role ng self-presentation on how we show ourselves in the social world. Dito kasi natin malalaman kung magugustuhan ba tayo ng mga tao. Like, does our presentation good to the eyes of other people? Diba? Kasi in this time, it is so important to be seen as competent and productive person of society. And as a person, para maging socially accepted tayo, we tend to present ourselves to others in a positive way. Like we attempt to convince others na good tayo, na we are worthy people by appearing strong and likable, and saying positive things to others. So, ang tendency, you will show to them na, eto ako, strong ako, and I am independent woman. And yung positivity na yon, makaka-create ka ng impact sa ibang tao so that they will be motivated. They will be inspired by you. You share positivity, then they will be positive as well.
Yes, true naman yan, Catherine. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, no? Aminin man natin o hindi, dumating tayo sa point na naging malungkot tayo. To be honest, ako na-experience ko yan. Lalo na nung nag-start pa lang tayo mag-online class, ang hirap-hirap magsimula at mag-adjust. Pero because of those people na patuloy na nagpapasaya sa atin sa social media, nakikita natin na ang Pilipino ay nagtutulungan para makapagbahagi ng pagkain sa mga apektado ng pandemya. Yung mga students na binibigyan ng libreng laptop, cellphones, as in yung positivity na sinishare nila sa atin, nakapagpataas rin siya ng ating self-esteem. Na kung dati hindi ko kayang gawin ito, pero because of those people, nagkakaroon ka ng hope na kaya ko din pala. At yun yung nagpapataas ng self-esteem natin. It's the way we maintain positive views of ourselves.
Pero may times ba na binabago natin yung behavior natin in response to the self-presentation? Kasi diba, if self-presentation is a way to present a positive self-image to others, what if we presented something na hindi naman talaga yun ang mag-describe ng ating self? I mean, fake lang siya, ganun.
Siguro in life, may ganong nangyayaring situation talaga. I mean, it is possible to happen at doon papasok siguro yung self-monitoring. Kasi when we say self-monitoring, it's about being aware of your behavior and its impact to your environment. It's about altering your self-presentation to fit in. So siguro kaya may mga taong binabago yung behavior nila to adopt in the social situation or in response to self-presentation is dahil mataas yung, they have high self-monitoring.
And do you think it is bad? Do you think it is bad to have high self-monitoring or bad ba na yung change your behavior to have positive self-image? Ikaw, Carolyn.
Yes, in a way, kasi you're faking it eh. You're faking your behavior just to fit in your environment. But, I could say na good thing rin to in a way kasi kapag nag-self-monitor ka, you adapt to different social situations in your environment and you will get along with others at the same time. Makaka-interact mo sila. Makaka-build ka ng relationship sa kanila. Just like what Catherine said a while ago na we are talking about social self in here and it's about how you perceive yourself in relation to others. Involved din dito yung pag-build ng relationship, di ba? So, for me, more on positive naman yung effort niya sa tao, especially sa ating social world.
Ako, I agree with you, Caroline. I see it more in a positive way dahil bukod sa binanggit mo, if you self-monitor, you will also improve your interpersonal skills eh. Number one yan na at pwede rin na you improve self-awareness na another important term in social world. The term self-awareness. It's being aware on yourself, feelings, characters. It's about focusing on your attention. And in that way, kapag self-aware ka, you can evaluate your behavior and it happened or developed because you self-monitor.
Yes, very true naman yan. And balikan lang natin yung question namin sa'yo, Catherine, kanina about who you are. Well, sinabi mo na your self-concept is you're an advocator, a strong woman, bilang isang babae na rin na maliban sa pagiging student, archer, broadcaster, ang daming ganap. Well, ikaw ba? How do you acquire or construct your self-concept and in what possible ways?
How do I construct? Paano ba? Alam niyo minsan, sa totoo lang, ako talaga kapag kinikilala ko yung sarili ko, yung capabilities ko, I try to compare myself to others. Na-experience niyo din ba yun? Kasi ganun talaga ako minsan eh. Ganun ako, hindi naman to make myself higher than others or yung tipong minamalit ko yung pinagkukooperan ko. It's just my way talaga to know more myself or to know myself more. I use social comparison to construct self-concept. Dahil how do I know I'm strong if I don't compare myself to other people who are also strong, di ba? How do I know na mananalo ako sa mga competitions na sasalihan ko if I don't compare myself to other players, di ba? It's all about social comparisons for me. And actually, dalawa yung ina-apply ko in life. Una yung tinatawag na upward social comparison, wherein I tend to compare myself to someone who is better than me. Usually, ginagawa ko to improve my skills in a certain field. Katulad nga nung sumali ako sa sports, I compared myself to my coach or to other players na mas magaling sa akin. In that way, na-improve ko yung skills ko. Sinabi ko sa sarili ko, kung kaya nila, syempre, kaya ko rin. So, I work hard talaga para maging kasing galing nila. And then, I also apply downward social comparison wherein I compare naman myself to someone who is worse than me. Sorry for the term. But sometimes ko lang naman siya ginagawa. Sometimes lang. And somewhat effective naman to kasi napapataas niya bahagya yung self-esteem ko where I tend to feel better about myself. Kayo din ba guys? Ina-apply niyo din ba yung social comparison in your life?
Well, ako, unconsciously, ginagawa ko siya. Pero compared naman sa'yo, Catherine, kapag ina-apply ko yung upward social comparison, di ba sabi mo nai-inspire ka and nag-i-improve yung skills mo? Sa akin naman parang bumababa yung self-esteem ko. Ganon, pero sa akin lang siguro.
Kumbaga, parang nai-insecure ka.
Yes, that's the right term. Thank you, Lyka. Oo, nai-insecure ako kasi kapag nalaman mo na may mas bongga sa'yo, na may mas tataas pa sa'yo, you felt sad at titingnan mo sa sarili mo na, bakit ganito lang ako? Bakit siya ganyan? Bakit siya? Ganyan siya. Diba? Parang nagkakaroon tayo ng comparison between ourselves and other people. Tama ba yun?
Yes, hot topic din siya actually ngayon. About pa rin sa self to. About loving yourself, di ba? Loving your imperfections. Madalas natin itong nakikita sa social media. And sa social media din kasi natin minsan nakikita, usually mga celebrities and famous personalities, nakikita natin yung mga post nila about their perfect life, perfect relationships, perfect family, di ba? And some people na-inspire. Ay, pag nagkatrabaho ako, bibili din ako ng bahay. Ay, pupunta din ako ng Korea. Mga ganong bagay. And ang ibang tao naman nasasabihin about their self physically. Mabuti pa siya ang puti. Buti pa siya sexy. Yung mga ganon. And kalimitan ganyan. Ganyan yung mga nagiging reactions nila. And doon, maaaring bumaba at tumaas ang self-esteem ng tao.
Yes, pero depende din naman siya sa tao kung paano nila i-handle yung self nila, di ba? Katulad mo, Catherine, iba yung response mo kay Caroline when it comes to social comparison. So, depende pa rin siya sa isang tao. Going back sa question ko kanina na, ikaw naman, Caroline, syempre dapat mag-share ka din, di ba? How do you construct your self-concept? Share mo naman sa amin. Kung ang guest natin, sabi niya ay by comparing herself to others by applying social comparison, ikaw naman, paano?
Well, ako naman, siguro through self-schema. Ganun. If activated yung schemas ko or yung particular schema ko, it helps me to interpret my behavior. Siguro kumbaga sa self-schema, merong organization of beliefs or information about ourselves eh. For example, ako, as a student, na-experience ko to before na malate sa pagpasok ng face-to-face. And through that situation, I asked myself, nalate ba ako sa pagpasok kasi tamad ako pumasok or kaya ako na-late kasi tinanghali ako ng gising kasi nagpuyat ako sa paggagawa ng project ko. Diba? Parang sabihin na natin, na-late ako kasi lazy student ako or na-late ako kasi I am a hardworking student kaya nagpupuyat ako. Talaga nag-effort ako sa project kaya ako tinanghali ng gising. Dalawang self-relevant information na yon. Ang na-interpret ko, isang tamad at isang masipag. Diba? So, ayun, that's how I form my self-concept. And that is through self-schemas talaga. Ayun.
Yan. So, all in all, you're forming your self-concept through social comparison or by comparing and self-schema or by organizing your beliefs about yourself. Ako naman, guys. Tanungin nyo din naman ako.
Ako na, Lyka. Ako. So, Lyka, ikaw naman, how do you construct your self-concept?
Ako naman, through self-perception. Kung meron kang self-schema, then ang guess natin ay social comparison. Ako naman ay self-perception. Kung sa ibang tao, we form impression of others by observing their behavior. Ganon din sa self. I form my self-concept in the same way by observing my own behavior. Ako nitong college lang to ha. Discover ko yung sarili ko na I can work alone and I'm independent pala. Minsan itong sinasabi ng classmate ko sa iba ko pang classmate. Tinatanong nila na if ano daw yung personality or character na meron ako. Sabi ng friends ko, si Lyka, independent yan. Marunong yan mag-manage ng oras. Ambitious yan. May goals yan. And then, tinanong ko yung sarili ko, talaga ba? Ganun ba ako? Then, I observed and discovered, oo nga no. Compared before, kaya ko mag-work alone. Di na ako, depende lagi sa iba. May kumpiyansa na ako sa sarili ko. Mga ganung bagay. Yun. In that way, I form my self-concept through observing my own behavior. Kasi dun mo talaga makikita yung sarili mo eh. Through the help na rin ng mga friends mo, katulad nga nung sample ko. Ganun ako i-describe ng mga kaibigan ko. Para sa kanila, independent ako. Ako naman, walang kaalam-alam na oo nga no, independent nga ako.
Ayan, so kumbaga late mo na-realize, tama ba ako?
Yes! Kahit hindi naman ganun i-describe yung sarili ko eh. May iba akong self-concept, but through self-perception, I gain insight na ganito pala ako. So, that's how I construct my self-concept.
Okay, so for that, thank you, Miss Colombia, for that wonderful answer.
Oy, di ako sa Colombia. Si Philippines ako, no?
Hindi ba? Yes, and pansin ko lang ha, ang dami na nating natutunang terms na from social self, self-concept, self-presentation, self-comparison, self-perception, ano pa ba?
Self-monitoring.
Ayun, self-monitoring, self-esteem, di ba? Napakarami pa, and our episode is all about self talaga.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is what our podcast is all about talaga, the Selcast room. And talagang we will talk about more on ourselves.
And nakakatuwa lang no na we have these kinds of programs today na more on nagdi-discuss about who we really are. And I think it's very timely and relevant to talk about since we're on this pandemic. Nasa mga bahay lang tayo, mas marami tayong time to reflect about ourselves, di ba? And in this podcast, this is not just about who am I or what are my characters, strengths, and weaknesses. Napapag-usapan din natin dito yung about sa roles ng self natin sa social world.
Yes, and dagdag ko na rin na that's also about being a DevCom student who's taking up a psychology course, no? Here we are studying about the social psychology and discuss about social thinking, social influence, and social relations, di ba? And as a DevCom students, ang goal natin is to use communication, different forms of communication to promote change to people, so our community to promote social change. And again, pasok pa rin dito yung social self natin and as how we individually interact with our social world. paano nga naman natin ma-accomplish yung goal natin to help others without even understanding how social self and world works, diba?
Yes, so with that, thank you very much po to our first guest, Catherine Dimaano, with your time and effort na i-accept ang aming invitation. Grabe, napakadami kong natutunan sa'yo, and to my co-host as well. Talagang this podcast is not just to inspire our audience but also to educate them.
Thank you very much din for having me here. Marami akong natutunan sa kwentuhan natin ngayon, and I hope ganun din ang ating mga audience. See you soon, guys, and take care. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Once again, thank you very much, Catherine. And, but wait, partner, there's more. We will have another guest na makakasama natin sa ating podcast. Isa rin ito isa sa mga pinaka-close natin, friends and classmates, and isa pa ito sa mga nami-miss natin talaga, di ba?
Yes, true yan, Caroline. We will meet him later. So stay tuned and we will be right back.
Grabe, ang dami nating natutunan sa discussion natin with our first guest speaker for today.
Oo nga, partner. And I think mas madadagdagan pa yan. Kaya to our lovely listeners, keep tuning in sa Selfcast Room. At talagang nag-uumapaw ang mga bagay na natutuklasan at nalalaman just by listening to our guest speakers.
Ano ba? Patatagalin pa ba natin to, partner? Mukhang just by seeing how you react ay talagang na-excite ka na.
Kasi ba naman, our next speaker is one of the most versatile individuals I've known. Imagine, he is able to handle such responsibilities of his with excellence and strength.
Wow! Pangmalakasan talaga mga guest speakers natin for today. Mukhang talagang introduction pa lang. Talagang pasok na pasok.
Of course, just for our audience, we aim nothing but the best. Let me introduce to you Ronel Vidal, currently positioned as Vice President and also SDC Secretary. Teka, hindi pa dyan nagtatapos. Siya rin ay isa sa mga writer ng The Late at miyembro ng Youth Link for Leadership and Development Association. Ronel Vidal.
The pleasure is mine. Basta para sa kaunlaran at para sa kabataan, ay aking gagawin ang abot ng aking makakaya para makatulong sa pagbabago na ating inaasam.
Hello, Mr. Vidal. Thank you for giving us your time to make this podcast possible.
Sandali, Mr. Vidal. May jowa na po ba kayo o iniintay niyo ako?
Hoy, ano ba yan? Mukhang makikik out ka dito, partner, na wala sa oras Hindi na related sa topic natin. Bahala ka.
Nagbibiro lang naman ako pero baka naman.
Hay nako, I guess ako na lamang ang magpapatuloy nito. Charot.
Huwag ka na sad. Ito na nga, tunay na talaga. As someone who has been into a lot of experiences, how can you define individualism for our listeners?
It was mostly observed in Western countries. I define it as a concept which allows one's goal over one group recognition. Along with this, it is also defined on one's identity in terms of personal rather than group identifications.
Kung ating lalong sisiyasatin ito ay nakafocus sa kung sino ang isang individual at hindi sa grupong kinabibilangan niya na gaya ng mga organisasyon niyang kinabibilangan. Tama ba ako?
To make it short, kumbaga ito ay pansarili mong pagkakakilanlan that makes someone unique and original. Tama ba ako?
Exactly. Dito rin pumapasok ang idea ng independent self.
Partner, mukhang ibang curriculum ata na ituro. Self lang yung tinuro sa akin ng English teacher ko dati.
Hala, oo nga. Pero let's hear it out para mas madagdagan naman sa ating vocabulary para mawisikan na tayo ng konting knowledge lang naman. Please elaborate po kung ano ba itong individual self.
Ay iba yun. Individual self is how person perceive oneself different and unique from others. Kasama dito yung traits, interests, and hobbies.
But
Yes,
somehow,
they both are terms that focuses on individuality, pero sa individualism, it was more of generalized perspective than how independent self.
someone who is really raised in an Asian country, we highly enjoy the sense of belongingness and even embrace it as a part of our culture as Filipino to be united, di ba?
I agree. In this case, collectivism is to be considered for it is more focused and prioritizes the goals of a group and defines identity accordingly.
The one of its example can be societies that has the culture na kapag may matandang kamag-anak ay imbis na ilagay sa home for the aged ay sila yung nag-aalaga.
Wait, applicable din ba dito yung Filipino time?
Ay iba na po yan. Sadly, it's not. Pero Filipinos are considered to have a collectivistic society. And also, since nasabi mo na rin yung sa Filipino time, there is one related idea about underestimating the time to finish a certain task, which is called as planning fallacy.
So ito ba yung parang pinipredict yung duration of time para matapos yung gawain? Ay, relatable to sa mga students.
Parang may nabasa ako about dyan before. Saying na some students daw ay nag-e-expect pa rin daw na magawa nila ang isang task on time wherein most of their previous tasks are mostly done last minute before the deadline.
Yeah, indeed, that's a fact. Also, it has also something to do with someone's motivation. Knowing that they keep insisting to do it but delays it just shows their lack of motivation.
Wait, motivation is what drives people to do a certain activity or work, di ba? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And it has its types as well.
Yeah.
Aba, partner, may lagnat ka ba o hindi ata maluwag ang tornilyo natin sa utak ngayon ah?
Hoy, ano ka ba? Ganyan lang ang alam ko. Sige po, please proceed.
Tama naman ano yung mga nabanggit kanina, pero I'll state the two types and differentiate it from one another. Intrinsic motivation is the desire to engage in an activity because we enjoy it, while extrinsic motivation is the desire to engage in an activity because of the external rewards or pressures.
To clarify this, external rewards po ay may makukuha tayo through accomplishing those tasks. Tapos yung external naman ay more of sense of accomplishment and peace of mind.
Exactly. And in opposition to this, may mga bagay din na nakakabawas ng ating motivation, also called as over-justification. Have you experienced doing something and losing interest in it after someone told you to do it?
Yes, madalas sa paggagawa ng mga gawaing bahay. This is one time, plano ko na hugasan yung plato, kaso inutusan pa ako ni Mama. At first, I was really on the mood to wash it, but after it, parang ayoko na talaga. Ganun yun.
Para bang yung mga walang jowa dyan, nagre-reklamo na walang jowa, tapos kapag andyan na at inuulo ka na, ayaw pa din.
Hoy, partner! Ano ba yan? Walang booking na naman. Ako naman, ikaw talaga.
Parang malayo naman siya sa over-justification, pero sige, ilaban mo yan.
Hoy! Wait lang. Tatawa muna ako. Okay. Ayos na tayo, partner. Ano ka ba? Nakakahiya sa ating guest.
Hayaan mo, matatapos din to kahit anong mangyari.
Nabanggit na rin naman na matatapos din niya yung task regardless of how well she does is where task contingent rewards, na kung saan makakakuha ka pa din no matter how you do a certain task. Counterpart naman ito ang performance contingent rewards, kung saan nakabase ang rewards na gumawa ng task.
Wait. Example siguro ng task contingent rewards ay yung fixed salary ng mga contractual employee, and on the other naman ay sa contest. The better you perform as a contestant, the higher the level of chances of winning and claiming the reward of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Am I right, partner? But if motivation is the willingness of an individual to the task, then bakit laging ine-emphasize din ang pagkakaroon ng healthy mindset? Diba? Like, mostly dun sa mga nabasa ko na self-help books, lagi din nilang sinasabi na motivation isn't enough. Can you explain that po for us? Thank you!
Nice question. Motivation isn't really enough. As individuals, we are believed to have two barometers of happiness, which includes both motivation itself at yung mindset ng isang tao. Also, mindset natin yung mag-influence sa ating maging motivated sa mga bagay na ating ginagawa sa kahit anong aspeto ng buhay.
Kaya pala lagi yun yung nababanggit. At least may valid explanation na kung bakit need natin ng dalawang bagay na ito.
Yes, and also not all have the same mindset. Some have growth, meanwhile some have fixed mindset.
Partner, siguro hindi growth yung akin. Hindi na kasi ako tumatangkad eh.
Hindi yun ganon. Ibang growth yon.
Ay, iba ba yun? Sorry!
Ha, ikaw nagsabi niyang about sa height ha, labas kami dyan. By the way, yung differences ng two mindsets is kinda obvious. Yung sa growth, malamang it is focused on improving oneself. Meanwhile, kapag fixed naman, it means that it is unchangeable.
Okay, so I guess I have a growth mindset. I tend to always aim for improvement ever since I was a child, and to be honest, I'm feeling good naman about it.
Buti ka pa, tanda mo. Ako kasi I tend to have distorted memory of my past. Kaya minsan kapag magkukwento ako, di ko sure kung tama ba yung nararamdaman ko that current moment o dahil sa isang bagay.
It's kinda normal, and actually there's a psychological term for that of experiences of yours, Miss Lyka. It is called as Misattribution of Arousal, wherein people mistakenly influences about what is causing them to feel the way we do.
It's also kinda reasonable din naman kapag nagkaroon tayo ng distorted memory of a certain memory, kasi after all, we can't have them all with us.
In my heart, I'm in Spain without S.
Sana okay lang kayo kasi ako ay okay pa ako.
Ala! Ayoko na! Ayoko na nga! Parang ano naman aring si Lyka.
Anong ikaw dyan? Humuhugot-hugot tapos ako yung sisisihin mo. Nakisimpatya lang ako, partner, ha?
Ala, proceed na tayo at na-off topic na naman. Sige po, proceed na.
Regarding sa ating discussion, there's actually a psychological strategy that we call self-handicapping, wherein an individual or people rather tend to create obstacles and excuses para hindi nila sisihin ang sarili nila or maiwasan nila na sila yung masisi sa isang sitwasyon.
Oh, ikaw ha? Huli ka ngayong partner.
Both of you actually showed it, and there's no big deal about it. It's normal for we to tend to have self-serving biases over things. And it really does happens out of our consciousness.
Ikaw din pala, partner, ha?
That's the magic of psychology, people. Pero to clarify, hindi po sila mind readers or cause. They are just aware of these things, that's why they can evaluate it as well.
Yeah, and we really find it an interesting, di ba partner?
Takot pala.
Paano yung takot?
Takot na parang iiwanan ka niya para sa iba.
Ay, nako. Okay.
Huwag ka na sad.
Partner, hoy, joke lang yun. Ano ka ba yan?
Oo na. Proceed na po tayo. How about opinions, especially on the social environment? Meron din po bang psychological terms that we need to know?
These two terminologies I'm about to say are related to what you were asking. Firstly is the false consensus effect, na kung saan people tend to take it as normal if majority believes or do it. And secondly is the false uniqueness effect naman, kapag people underestimate one's ability.
Example ba po nung false uniqueness effect ay yung paglalaro ng sports and think it was something that is unique from the others, knowing that it was done by many since it was still not into a person, might think that he is the way unique than the others.
Yeah, I think you actually got it right, partner. Well, actually, marami pang examples na pwedeng applyan itong false uniqueness effect. Lalo na when we talk about ourselves na feeling natin yung ability natin to connect easily to other people or kunwari, makisama. Akala natin unique ability natin yun, pero sa iba hindi pala. Diba? May ganong instances, diba, sa ating buhay?
Yes, somewhat makaka-boost siya sa ating self-esteem since we feel na unique tayo, di ba? Positive insight yon, but it might contribute din for us to be overconfident. We all know na too much of everything is bad din naman. Yun nga lang, like overconfidence. Mas maganda yung saktong confidence lang dapat. I'm not saying na bad to have self-confidence ha, but it should be on right amount, right situation, di ba? So yun, I think yun yung one disadvantage. And I think another one is it can lead to negative impression of peers. Since we underestimate one's ability, we think na special tayo compared to others. Baka mag-lead to for other people to have negative impressions sa atin. Baka isipin nila na mayabang tayo, ganyan, sabihin tayo na, di ikaw na ang magaling. Di ba?
Naku, oo nga. Napakaraming ganun talaga sa buhay natin. So meaning, we adjust din, no? And we should use this in right way, dapat at lagi. And ayun nga kay Ronel, too much of everything is not okay at all.
Yes, isa yan sa mga di ko makakalimutan na sinabi ng prof ko sa psychology din. Lagi niyo kasing sinasabi sa akin yan. I mean, sa atin pala. So, shout out sa iyo, ma'am.
And I'm sure na pinapanood at pinapakinggan niya to, di ba?
Yes, sure yan. Sure na sure.
So with that, thank you again for the time, Ronel, for this wonderful kwentuhan at kamustahan with you. Again, we have Catherine Dimaano sa ating part 1 and now with you, Ronel Vidal for part 2.
Yes, ang gagaling ng guest natin ha. Talagang they are knowledgeable about our topic. Ang dami nilang information na binabahagi sa atin, mga psychological terms, di ba?
Yes, thank you very much as well for this opportunity. I never expect na mapapahaba yung kwentuhan natin. But this is what I really want. I want to talk to other people, to share something on them. Yun yung naging reason why I took DevCom eh. Aside from being journalist back then when I was in high school, I really want to hear other people's stories and opinions. And if may ma-share akong opinions ko, of course, ibabahagi ko din yun.
Ayun, sa next podcast namin, Ronel, sure, i-invite ka uli namin, ha? Pwede ba yun?
Sure naman, anong topic? Depende yan sa topic ha. Kapag involved si Matt, ay wag ako. So, teka, may pamerienda ba to? Just kidding, but thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Carolyn and Lyka, for this exposure. I hope our audience learns something about this session.
Yes, thank you so much din, Ronel. Talagang good na good vibes ang dala sa atin ng ating mga guests, di ba, Carolyn?
Yes, that's right, Lyka. Mas naging colorful ang ating podcast because of them and katulad nga ng goal ng podcast natin. I hope our audience love, learn, and become inspired from the thoughts and life experiences that our guests shared to us this day.
And we hope that we achieve this goal with you guys. Again, this is your host, Lyka Pacurib, ang Miss Confidently Beautiful with a heart ng Mabini, Batangas.
And I am Carolyn Arcoirez, ang unstoppable dreamer ng Bukal, Batangas. See you again next time, only here on Selcast Room.